Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where every day I explore how technology can be used for the greater good in our homes, lives, work, industry, and even world. Not by replacing people, spying on people, or disciplining them. And that is one of the many reasons I invited today's guest on the show, because Mike Elliott is the CEO of a company called Oversea, who provide frontline tech at rugby grounds, shopping centres, airports and gyms, and a long list of high-profile clients, all to enable more effective mobile working. Now, particularly in light of COVID, Mike is beginning to see a lot of demand from venues that want to transition to smart stadiums and safer working environments, not only for their guests, but for frontline workers too. But Mike also has a fantastic backstory, and I don't want to reveal any spoilers before we get him on here. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Kent here in the UK so we can speak with Michael now. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Mike. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, hi there. My name's Michael Elliott, and I'm the CEO of a software company called Oversea. My career has been within the service sector, and I'm passionate about helping companies who employ frontline workers improve their employee and customer experience whilst driving productivity and reduce operational risk through the use and the deployment of low-cost technology.
And before you came on the podcast today, I did a little bit of research. I quickly learned that you got a great backstory too, because you served in the British Army for many years and patented a portable security device back in 2003 that pioneered the use of near-field communication, NFC of course, that is essentially an early version of the Apple Watch. So can I ask that you share your story and what was it that took you from the British Army to a career in tech?
Yeah, so when I left the armed forces, I started my first company in the security sector, supplying trained security guards. And we grew quite quickly. And within a couple of years, I had hundreds of staff. The problem was I had no visibility of the quality or the level of service my team were providing. And very often I would hear of a problem, or the only time I would hear of a problem would be when a customer cancelled their contract. So to solve the problem meant employing more supervisors, and the economies of scale simply meant that it was not viable to keep increasing overheads to run a business like that. And I was eventually approached and asked if I would consider selling the business, which I did, in the belief that I'd hit a glass ceiling and that much larger companies in the facilities management industry, for instance, had more sophisticated systems in place to manage remote working issues. However, within a few months of the deal being signed, I was asked to provide consulting as the acquiring company was losing my old customers at pace and asked for help. And that's when I realized that there was an issue, that the issue of remote working was far bigger than what I had just experienced. And so the monies I received from this acquisition went on to fund research into putting RFID into mobile phones. Best practice in the security industry back then was to use what they call proof of presence systems, which is a sort of RFID collecting data tool that gave some sort of proof that your security guy was where he said he was. But again, the problem with that is that it wasn't real time, and it was information and data that had to be downloaded locally, which very rarely happened. So I worked with Cambridge consultants, and I chose them as they were the original inventors of Bluetooth. And I asked them whether it would be possible to embed RFID into a mobile phone in order for us to get real-time data access, and basically take that old system of collecting data into a live system. And we shared that work with Nokia. And then 2 years later, the first commercial RFID mobile phone was launched that we call today NFC, used for contactless payments. But my innovation it went beyond just putting RFID, or as we now call it, NFC, into a phone, but also into an actual watch, so that any actual worker would be using their hands, and therefore that it be a wearable device as opposed to something that they actually always had to hold. So, yeah, long time ago, but that's the story.
Love that. And of course, here in 2020, you've got Oversea, which you mentioned in your intro there, and you provide frontline tech at everything from rugby grounds, shopping centres, airports and gyms, etc., to essentially enable more effective mobile working. But can you set the scene and tell me a little bit more about the kind of problems that you set out to solve?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we can probably all recognise that today more than ever, large venues and specifically public venues are having to operate with less resources due to COVID. But the operational risk for that venue hasn't changed. So the venue management need to be smarter at how resources are deployed. And to do that, we provide smartphone technology, low-cost sensors to collect this live data, but then we use artificial intelligence and machine learning to understand and then visualize the operation. So we primarily focus on venues where frontline workers are a part of the fabric of that facility in order for it to function. And our goal is to equip the staff with tools to help them provide a better customer experience while letting the technology take the monotony out of their day-to-day tasks. So let's take a train station at rush hour as an example. If it starts to rain at 4:30 on, say, a Thursday evening in London, thousands of commuters are about to walk water into that station and thereby massively increase the risk of slips, trips and falls. Our software can use sensors that detect rain and monitor local forecasts so that we can pre-advise the frontline staff if they need to be prepared to place their cleaning resources at entrances to reduce the amount of water entering the station. So now the cleaning staff are part of the risk management strategy and the entire process is automated.
And I think it's worth highlighting as well that your workplace management and analytics tool is currently deployed across a number of sectors to help clients with frontline staff management, including Thomond Park, the home of Munster Rugby, ScotRail and Southside Shopping Centre. They're just a few that I've read about. But can I ask that you share a few real-world use cases just so listeners can understand how the solution could be helping them?
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about sort of the innovation. I think probably everyone has understood the concept of using contactless, but visitors to venues now use social media, in particular Twitter, as an outlet to vent their dissatisfaction or concerns, which goes public within seconds. So one of the functions that Oversea does, it monitors all of our customers' social media accounts and intercepts every tweet. So if a customer, or a visitor or a customer walks into a shopping centre, say, and tweets that the bathrooms are filthy, we grab it in seconds, the second it's posted. We use artificial intelligence to read the message and work out the sentiment, i.e. is it positive or negative. We then look for the keywords to decipher, is it a security issue, a maintenance issue, a cleaning issue? And then we look at the images attached and use image recognition to understand what is the picture about. Is it a floor? Is it a basin? Is it a loo? And that entire process takes a matter of seconds. And from the artificial intelligence we've now gathered, we can create a new task that we have a cleaning issue. It's in the baby changing area and it's to do with the block basin. But we don't stop there. Our technology then deploys the cleaner to rectify that task. And once the issue is fixed, the cleaner in this case can also take a picture with their mobile device. And then we automatically reply to that tweet to say, thank you for making us aware of this issue. And here is an image of the fix that we've done and it's been implemented. So that takes customer experience to a new level simply by enabling that frontline worker with intelligent tools.
That's a great point you made about Twitter there, because you are right in what you're saying. So many people just go straight to Twitter to vent their frustrations. And from obviously the clients you have are well aware of this, but are you noticing more and more proactive behaviour around things like that, where people want to actively listen to what people are saying and manage that reputation? Because before, a lot of businesses kind of just put their head in the sand, didn't they? But is that changing now?
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
And I think that I think it started with the world of PR companies, where pretty much most operations now will have some form of social media monitoring. The problem with that, though, for the likes of a public venue or what have you, is that the times that things go wrong are not the times that people are at work. So unless your issue is 9 to 5 when that agency may be open Monday to Friday, you're not going to get a response to that issue until maybe the following week. And that is a huge, huge risk for any brand that does not want that media, that piece of social or that photograph to suddenly start to escalate around the world. And so what we've looked at is, how can we capture that? How can we turn that negative experience into actually a positive experience? Because you know what? There are always going to be things that are going to go wrong. There's always going to be a blocked toilet, or there's always going to be, an issue in a car park, whatever it might be. It's the response from that organization that will be judged.
And obviously what you're doing there, Oversea, is so much more than just that as well. So I've got to ask, what is it you would say that overall makes Oversea different from all those other solutions on the market that probably just focus on one or two niches? Because you seem to focus on much more than that.
I would say the biggest differentiator between Oversea and our competitors is our drive for the perfect user experience. I am obsessive when it comes to design and the interaction of our products. If the user is not delighted with the app or dashboards, or worse still, needs instructions on how to use our products, then we have failed. So we have spent millions on perfecting the experience. So whether you're an engineer, a cleaner, a security guard, a train driver, when they use Oversea, they know that every effort has gone into that product to help make their day a little better. Our products are designed from the ground up and not the top down.
And something else that I've noticed a lot this year, and a lot of people are talking about, is that the COVID situation, the global pandemic, has speeded up the digital transformation of almost everything. And businesses all over the world are looking at how they too can look at the future of work and working differently. So what stood out for me, one of the reasons I invited you on this podcast today, is that I read that you believe that the digital transformation can also be used by any organisation, but to empower the frontline workforce. So can you expand on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're right. I believe cutting-edge digital tools create stronger teams, right? And then those teams go on to share more useful data. That data not only allows the organizations to clearly see today, but to better shape tomorrow. Remote workers need a real-time two-way data link to their organization, not what really has been going on, which is just a push-down approach. And this was confirmed to us by research we did earlier this year of over 1,000 frontline workers to find out what would make their role more productive and, another question that very few companies ask, more enjoyable. And we found workers with access to mobile devices are far more satisfied with their job and more likely to say that they have the tools they need. They also said that they want tools that will create a dialogue and allow feedback and input to their employer. And most importantly, we learned that frontline workers stated that a lack of easy access to the information they need is wasting 2.25 hours a week. That's just under £1,400 per employee per annum, calculated on the London living wage. So if you're a medium-sized business employing, say, 600 employees, that equates to £750,000 a year of productivity losses. So digital transformation is not a cost to the business. It delivers significant financial returns to any company that sees it as a strategic investment.
And although we're not there yet, we are entering a period of post-lockdowns. So I'm curious, do you think the digital transformation will be crucial in also enabling organisations to reopen more safely?
I do.
Yeah.
I think that every venue now has a new challenge, and that is to provide confidence to its visitors and guests. We will all be entering public spaces now with a heightened reality of risk. And we want to look for reassurance that those venues don't just have the resources, but the technological backup to deliver.
And how do you see the workplace evolving over the next few years? And also, what kind of role do you think Oversea will play in that future? Because it feels like you guys are perfectly situated to help this transitional period that we're going through.
Yeah, I think we will see technology drive a more intelligent-led operator, where services will be delivered with a just-in-time methodology. Venues they'll have to get used to doing more with less. And the relationship between the frontline worker and technology, that will drive a higher standard of education and training and allow those frontline staff to take on more beneficial roles. I see Oversea's role is removing fear, of the big brother and the normal reaction to what is this technology going to do to us. I firmly believe that employers get the best results by placing the right technology in the hands of the people that matter and empowering and bonding those on the ground that spend every day at the sharp end, but not to use that technology as a disciplinary tool. It is an empowerment tool.
And although it's probably too early to talk about what excites you about the road ahead, is there anything that makes you hopeful and more positive about the future?
I do, and I suppose you probably can hear it in my passion for helping frontline workers to be the best that they can and give them the tools to do that. So from my side, I believe it will be possible with the combination of these workers equipped with technology to drastically reduce not only this risk but other risks, as I mentioned before, of slips, trips and falls and other things that happen in the workplace. And this is going to be a massive cost savings for organizations by digitally employing them. So the way that we say it in Oversea is being able to see an outcome ultimately leads to a mode of prevention. And that really excites me.
And for anyone listening that would like to find out more information about the work that you're doing at Oversea or just follow your progress or even contact your team, could you point them in the best direction of doing that?
Yeah, sure. They'd be most welcome at over-c, and that's the letter C.com. And for anyone that has been interested in some of the statistics that I've mentioned, you can download the frontline worker reports that we did and have a look for yourself. But we'd welcome to hear from you.
Well, for me personally, I think it's so refreshing to hear how you're using technology to empower frontline workforces in organisations. It's not about disciplinary, it's not about spying on them, it's more about enabling frontline staff to log incidents, communicate, collaborate with their managers and colleagues, and digitally check in when carrying out a task that will help it should help frontline morale and even organisations' bottom line, like you said there. And it's a huge step forward. So I applaud you for what you're doing. A big thank you for coming on here and sharing that story with me today. Thanks again, Mike.
You're most welcome, Neil. Thank you.
What a great guy, and an incredibly cool story from serving in the British Army for many years and then having that portable security device patented back in 2003 that went on to pioneer the use of NFC. Is inspirational enough, but the work he's doing now is incredible with Oversea, which is that provider of workplace management and analytics. So I just love drilling into that. They are using technology to enable line managers to work remotely, but also staff to keep better track of new hygiene regimes, and also the sensors to monitor social distancing provisions in real time, all to contribute to keeping both frontline workers and consumers safe. I've got a feeling that Michael's going to have a lot more stories over the next few years and a lot more success. So I will be staying in touch with him to find out how that journey progresses. But for everyone listening, please, I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode. Or if you've just got a question you want to fire my way or you want to come on the podcast, whatever it is, please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, and you'll find links to over 1,350 interviews and all my social channels over on my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. But that's it for another episode. So all that's left for me to say is a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.